I was a tour guide at the Roman Forum. A woman on my tour, wearing a Texas is bigger than France t-shirt, raised her hand. She asked with complete sincerity, if the Romans were so smart, why did they build all their ruins so far from the airport? It's really inconvenient for tourists. I started to explain the concept of historical timelines, but she cut me off. No, I get that it's old, but they should have planned better. In Dallas, we build our stadiums right off the highway. It's just good planning. Her husband nodded sagely beside her. Overheard a conversation between two American college students at the Louvre, standing before the Mona Lisa. It's so much smaller than on my phone screen, one said, genuinely disappointed. Seriously, the other replied, and why is she behind glass? It totally ruins the vibe for a selfie. They should make a bigger, high-definition version, like an IMAX Mona Lisa. People would pay extra for that. This is just low-res. They took a blurry picture and immediately walked away to find the gift shop. While working the night shift at a hotel in Dublin, a guest called the front desk in a full-blown panic. My power adapter isn't working and your electricity is broken. It's a fire hazard. I went up to his room and found him trying to jam a US plug into a European socket with one of the tines of a dinner fork. He genuinely thought more force was the solution, and that our outlets were just a weird decorative shape. I had to carefully explain how electricity, plugs, and not using metal utensils in sockets worked. Excuse me, we're looking for the Eiffel Tower. I was in London at the time, standing near Buckingham Palace. I politely informed the American couple that the Eiffel Tower was in Paris, France. The husband looked at his wife, not with embarrassment, but with triumph. See, Brenda, I told you Europe was small, but not this small. He then turned back to me, completely serious, and asked, so, can we get there on the tube? Is it on the Central Line? I was bartending in a small traditional pub in the Scottish Highlands. An American tourist ordered a Guinness. I poured it perfectly and set it before him. He took a sip, made a face, and said, "Whoa, that's way too warm. Your fridge must be broken." I explained that it's served at cellar temperature, not ice cold. He scoffed. That's just a cheap excuse. Can you just put some ice cubes in it for me? The entire pub, filled with grizzled locals, went dead silent and just stared at him. A tourist in a high-end ramen shop in Kyoto was getting visibly frustrated, poking clumsily at his noodles with chopsticks. He finally slammed them down and called the waiter over. "Look, I've been trying to eat this for 10 minutes. Can you please get me a fork? I don't understand why you guys insist on using these sticks. It's a very inefficient food delivery system. We perfected this with the fork centuries ago." The waiter just bowed deeply and brought him a fork without a word. While visiting the Anne Frank house in Amsterdam, the mood was very somber. That is, until I overheard an American teenager whisper loudly to her mum, "This is so sad." But if they had just had smartphones back then, she could have just called an Uber and gotten out of there. Her mother nodded thoughtfully and added, and she could have posted her story on Instagram to raise awareness. She would have gotten so many followers. I worked at a car rental agency at the Rome airport. An American family came to pick up their Fiat, and the father immediately started getting red in the face. "The steering wheel is on the wrong side," he yelled. I calmly explained that in Italy we drive on the right side of the road, so the wheel is on the left. He pointed a finger at me and said, "Don't you lie to me. I've seen the Italian job. They drive on the other side. Now get me a proper car." He was confusing Italy with the UK. On a tour of the Great Wall of China, a man asked our guide, "So how many miles long is it?" The guide replied, "It's over 21,000 kilometers. The man looked annoyed. "I don't do kilometers, that's fake math. Just tell me in real measurements, like miles or maybe how many football fields it is. Why do you guys have to make everything so complicated? In America, we keep it simple. Miles, feet, inches, easy." On a guided tour of the Vatican City, a woman from California kept asking our guide about the celebrity residence. So, does the Pope live here full-time? Does he have any famous neighbours? Like, do George and Amal Clooney have a summer place here? It seems like a really exclusive neighbourhood. I bet the property values are insane. The guide had to gently explain that the only resident was, in fact, the Pope, and that it wasn't a gated community for Hollywood stars. My cousin was a ski instructor in Whistler, Canada. He had a client from Florida who was on skis for the first time. After falling a few times, the man asked, "Is this snow organic?" It feels really different from the snow at the Disney World water parks. Theirs is much softer. You should really look into whatever brand they're using. It seems much safer for beginners. He was completely serious, believing all snow was artificially made. In a pub in London, I overheard an American tourist trying to pay his bill. He looked at the total, then at the bartender and said, "Okay, so how much is that in real money?" Like, in dollars. The bartender politely replied, "Well, the exchange rate is about 1.25, so..." The tourist interrupted him. No, I don't want to do math. Just tell me the price in a real currency. Why don't you guys just use dollars? It would make everything so much easier for everyone." A woman on a bus tour through the majestic Swiss Alps kept asking the driver to pull over. When he finally asked why, she said, "I want to get a picture with the sound effects on." The driver was completely baffled. She elaborated, "You know, the yodeling. Can you turn on the yodeling for the mountains? It's not very authentic without it. I thought that was included in the tour package." She thought yodeling was a pre-recorded track played over loudspeakers for tourists. I was working at a visitor centre in Sydney, Australia. An American tourist came to the desk with a map and a frown. "Okay, I've been walking around the city all morning and haven't seen a single kangaroo. What time do you let them out? Is there a schedule or a specific park they're released into? We have a flight this afternoon, and I'd hate to miss the official running of the kangaroos." In a historic cafe in Vienna, Austria, an American loudly complained to the waiter, "Excuse me, I ordered a Wiener Schnitzel, and you brought me this piece of veal. I wanted a hot dog, a wiener. It's right there in the name. Is this some kind of fancy tourist scam, where you overcharge for a hot dog and don't even bring the right thing?" He then demanded to see a manager to get a real wiener with ketchup. My friend is a tour guide in Egypt. He had an American tourist who, while standing in front of the Great Pyramid of Giza, asked, "This is amazing, but where are all the hieroglyphics with the aliens? I saw on the History Channel that aliens built these. Are you hiding the alien stuff from the regular tours? Is that in the VIP package? I'll pay extra to see the spaceship landing pad." While I was studying in Spain, I met a tourist who asked me, "So do you guys speak Mexican here, or is it Spanish?" I tried to explain that the Spanish language originated in Spain. He looked genuinely puzzled and replied, "No, that can't be right. Spanish is from Mexico. That's why they speak it on TV. You guys must speak like European Mexican or something. It sounds a little different." At the Blue Lagoon in Iceland, an American tourist flagged down a staff member. "Excuse me, can you turn the heat down in this section? It's a little too hot for me. Feels like a lawsuit waiting to happen." The staff member politely explained that the heat is geothermal, coming from the Earth's volcanic activity. The tourist replied, "Well, can't you just call the manager of the volcano and have them adjust the thermostat?" I watched this happen at a train station in Tokyo. An American was getting increasingly angry at a ticket machine smacking the side of it. He flagged down a station employee and said, "Your machine is broken. It won't take my money and I'm going to miss my train." He was holding a handful of crumpled US dollar bills and trying to shove them into the coin slot, which was clearly marked for yen only. A tourist in Banff National Park in Canada asked a park ranger, "At what elevation do the deer turn into moose? We've seen a lot of deer down here, but I really want to see a moose before we go back to the States. Do we need to hike up higher for them to evolve?" The ranger just took off his hat, wiped his brow, and took a very long, deep breath before answering. In a bustling market in Marrakesh, Morocco, a young American woman was haggling for a lamp. She turned to her boyfriend and said very loudly, "Oh my God, I bet this is the one from Aladdin. Ask him if a genie comes with it, like, for real." The vendor, who spoke perfect English, just sighed wearily and said, "For you, madam, the genie is extra. Very expensive genie. He has a college degree." I was on a boat tour in the Galapagos Islands. An American tourist asked the naturalist guide, "Why are all the animals here so weird looking? Don't you have any normal animals like squirrels or pigeons? It's like everything here is some kind of failed science experiment. It's a little creepy, to be honest." The guide just stared at him, then pointed at a marine iguana and continued his lecture on evolution. A man walked into the pub I work at in Ireland and declared, "All right, I'm here for the real Irish experience." I asked what he'd like. He said, "Give me a pint of your greenest beer and a bowl of Lucky Charms. And if you see a leprechaun, tell him I've got a bone to pick with him about that pot of gold." It was the middle of April. He thought we were just hiding the St. Patrick's Day stuff. While visiting the ruins of Pompeii, an American tourist was overheard saying to her husband, "It's so sad they all died, but honestly, it's kind of their own fault. Why would you build a city right next to a volcano? That's just bad real estate planning. In America, the zoning commission would never approve this. They should have sued that volcano into oblivion." At a five-star restaurant in Paris, an American tourist flagged down the waiter. "Excuse me, do you have any ranch dressing?" The waiter, a consummate professional, replied, "Pardon, monsieur?" The tourist repeated slowly, "Ranch." "Dressing? For my salad? Or maybe some ketchup for my steak frite?" The waiter looked as if he had been physically wounded. He took a breath and whispered, "Non, monsieur. We do not have the ranch." I was working at a hotel in New Zealand when a guest from the US called the front desk to ask for directions to Mordor. He was dead serious. He had a map from the movie and was trying to match it to a real road map. "I see Mount Ruapehu here, but where's the best place to park to get a good view of Mount Doom? And are the tours for avoiding the orcs self-guided?" On a flight to Rome, the American man next to me pressed the call button. When the flight attendant arrived, he asked if she could pop up to the cockpit and ask the pilot to swing by the Leaning Tower of Pisa on the way in. "I just want to get a quick aerial shot for my Instagram," he explained. "I have over 2,000 followers, so it's good publicity for your airline." A tourist at the Berlin Wall Memorial asked the guide, "So which side was the good side? And which was the bad side? And why didn't the people on the bad side just climb over? It doesn't even look that tall." He then patted the concrete section and said, "I bet a good Texas boy with a running start could hop that thing easy. No problem." I was in a specialty coffee shop in Amsterdam. An American tourist looked at the menu with a confused expression and asked the barista, "Do you have any non-Dutch coffee? I'm not a big fan of foreign food." The Dutch barista looked at him, deadpan, and replied in perfect English, "Sir, coffee beans are not native to the Netherlands. All coffee is foreign." The tourist just sighed and ordered a hot chocolate. At the Acropolis in Greece, a young American was complaining loudly to his father. "Dad, this is so boring. It's just a bunch of broken rocks. Why can't they just rebuild it all to look new like they do at Disneyland? At least there, the castles have princesses and decent churros. This place is a total rip-off. There isn't even a gift shop at the top." I was working in a traditional kilt maker's shop in Edinburgh. A woman came in and asked, "Do you sell kilts in pants form?" I was confused and asked, "You mean tartan trousers?" She shook her head impatiently. "No, like a kilt, with the pleats and the sporran and everything, but with legs sewn in, for modesty. It's a great Scottish invention. You guys should really think about it. I'd buy one." A tourist on a safari in Tanzania pointed at a magnificent herd of zebras and asked the guide, "Are those natural? Or do you guys have to paint the stripes on them every morning? It seems like a lot of work, but the effect is really cool, very photogenic. Do you have to tranquilize them first? The guide just stared into the savannah, contemplating all his life choices. In a famous bookstore in England, an American tourist picked up a beautiful leather-bound copy of Shakespeare's Hamlet. He took it to the clerk and asked, "Excuse me, do you have this in the original American version? I find the British English really hard to follow. All these these and thous are so confusing. I wish they'd just translate it into normal English for the rest of us."